that's better. Right. I'm just going to wake someone up.
Okay, thanks.
Okay.
So, as I explained to you on the phone, Michael, we're from a neighbouring ward. We're from Lyme Warden.
Okay.
The reason why we're here is because the officers on Cannon Hill are on extended leave. So we need to come around and just understand what's happened so we can update the report.
So
And
the
when
officers,
when they're back, then they can take over.
so when the officers, are you talking about the last guy, PC Robson?
No.
Is that someone else?
So when you call police and you make a report about something, it goes to the on-call response team, and that officer is attached to the response team. And their job is to take the report, put the report on, and this type of incident then gets passed to the local safe neighbourhood team, which will be Cannon Hill.
Right, because the last person we were dealing with was PC Robson, who had a better overview of everything else that was going on. So will he be taking over this when he gets back, or is this
No,
now something
it'll
else?
be PC Young, Robin Young.
So new person.
Yeah, so he's the safe neighbourhood officer for Cannon Hill.
Right, and that's not Sandra. That's someone else. Though.
He works with Sandra.
Right, so I've got an active police report against some of the neighbourhood safety team for what they did to me last time.
Are you talking about PC Trow and PC?
Yeah, PC Tro, PC what's it
Mooney.
Mooney,
Yeah.
and in some respects also Sandra, because she's half responsible for them coming back to my property when I specifically said, not 5 days before, in the complaint to 101, which was recorded, but that officer will not attend my property again after what he did to me the last time he attended.
Well, we're
So
not
that's
here
fine.
to talk about those two
okay,
officers, and they.
Good, so just to work out who is doing what now. So
Right,
fine.
so those two officers won't be dealing with this.
Yes,
And it'll be PC Robin Young when he comes back.
Robin Young and PC Robinson, who was dealing with information, who has access to stuff being delivered to the police station directly. Is he now not involved in this?
He
or
will
is
be
that...
passing it on to PC Young.
Okay, right, good, excellent.
Okay?
Okay.
That helps.
So the complete file is travelling, not just one instant.
The complete file, yes.
Right, okay,
Good,
thank you.
good.
Thank you. Yeah.
Right, so as I understand it, there's currently 2 open reports which you've made against the person next door.
Two.
Yeah.
It's more like 4. But
Well,
yeah.
those have been closed, which I looked at yesterday.
Yes, they're closed for reasons which were not disclosed, made no sense, and are not in the best interests of resolving the situation.
Okay, I'm not here to talk about closed reports, okay? For whatever reason they have been closed, there's no crime. And as far as I'm aware, you've been told about that.
Have not.
No.
Right, well, I'm not here to talk
I've
about
not been
them.
passed the information. As far as we're aware, they're all active.
Okay.
We
I'm
thought
here-
we thought there was an open report about the campaign of stalking harassment, which is a multitude of small incidents going on since last February or whatever, and so all these small incidents together have comprised the campaign, and so we're not saying that any one incident within it was necessarily a crime in its own right. We're just saying we've been saying consistently throughout the entirety of the campaign it constitutes a crime, and we haven't had that report dealt with yet, or any kind of answer to it. And this latest thing may or may not be a crime in its own right, but is consistent with the complete campaign. So that's what we're waiting for some kind of closure on.
We're just here to talk to you today about the crime reports that are open that we know of. The rest of the campaign, as you say, will be dealt with by Robin when he comes back.
Okay.
So we just need to get the details from
the
you
current
of,
one, okay.
of the reports that you've made recently.
Yeah. Okay.
Right, which one? Because there are 2.
Right, so 2. I've got one from the 27th of October. The gist of that is that you've made an allegation against the man next door because he texted your father, "I am nervous what your son is doing recording young children." And you're saying that
that one.
that
Okay.
basically
Yeah.
constitutes him calling you a paedophile.
which he'd done openly in
Which has done
specific words before, yes.
Yeah,
It's a
Well,
continuation of the same
We're
allegations.
just talking about the report that you've made recently.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
the most recent
let's try and forget about
okay,
the
all right,
campaign
yeah.
stuff.
The most recent report then. The most recent report is the investigation into potential identity theft in relation to us receiving numerous phone calls from every estate agent in a 10-mile radius because somebody put our property up on the market. Using
When
my
have you
father's
made
phone
that
number and
report?
my email address.
When have you made that report?
Last week and this week and the week before, following up with both Rightmove and PC Robson.
Robson.
What was it? Whatever. Robinson. I have to remember that. Anyway, I've now found out from yourselves that he's been on leave, so I don't think anything's actually been done, but Rightmove have made direct contact with PC Robinson, so nothing will happen then.
So who was it that they told you put your house on the market then?
Well, that's the point. Check the real situation. Rightmove are unable to disclose how this happened, i.e. the IP addresses or the locations or any pertinent metadata unless the police actively ask for that metadata. If the police don't ask for it, they can't give it over because they have to make a proper declaration of data protection, etc., etc.
Right,
So
so we can make a
I
data
just-
protection request then. So what are you alleging? That someone has put your house
Somebody
on
put
Rightmove?
somebody registered our house as being up for sale on Rightmove using my email address and my father's business phone number.
Which very
Using
few
your
people
email
around here
address
would
and
know.
what?
And my business phone number,
Okay.
which was very few people around here would know that. He would know it, but few other people around here would know that.
Is that the same as your mobile number or
No.
different?
No, we're talking about landline.
Can I take that, please?
Yeah.
And when did this happen?
It's in the log, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think we discovered it last Tuesday, but the event is
Yeah.
likely to have happened a week before that, potentially.
And has that been reported to the police?
Yes.
Yes, to PC Robinson,
How
Yes,
did
he was
you
a-
report it to them?
but by email.
Yes, we were,
By
we were in direct email correspondence with him.
Right. Okay.
Right, on the 18th of December.
That's when you discovered it.
Yeah, that's when I got the first phone
That's
calls.
when we
Yeah.
got the first phone calls, and that's the day I found the buried confirmation email from Rightmove within my junk folder,
Okay.
which was, yeah, I think basically a week earlier. It's on my phone somewhere.
Yeah.
Okay. And what's the email address that was used? Right. Okay.
I've been in contact with Rightmove. They will have emailed PC Robinson, so you might have access to that, or I can give you the contact details of the guy I was dealing with and the protection department of Rightmove.
Okay. So going back to the comment that was, I believe, text to you, was that right? From Jack, saying, "I'm nervous what your son is doing before
Yeah.
him." Yeah.
Yeah.
So you made a report about specifically that text message. Is that correct? And you're saying that is malicious communications.
Yes, I'm saying that is several things, including malicious communications. It's also harassment, it's also intimidation, it's also assault. It can be many things, but it's also malicious communications.
Okay.
I mean, it was completely uncalled for, completely unreasonable. It's
Was
escalated
the
to-
camera covering their garden?
No,
Okay, because it's been moved, hasn't it? The camera.
no, the camera never covered the garden. At no point did the camera cover any part of their garden, apart from one tiny incidental thing because of the wide-angle lens, and that was blocked out using the privacy tools of software. At no
Okay,
point
so there
did
aren't
we-
wildlife pictures
Oh, there are, but that's a
What
different camera.
covering their garden.
That's a different camera, a small special trail camera designed for wildlife,
and that was
which
last,
we move around to catch the particular.
that was in last
And
week.
does it cover their garden?
No.
Okay.
At no point does it cover their
So
garden.
there's no pictures online that cover their garden.
There are no pictures online that cover their garden.
Okay.
There's a recent complaint they've made that one of the pictures that were put up of a particular bird on the well thing had their house in the background, but the top of their house in the background, not the garden, top of the house in the background.
It's specifically
It's
complaining
just
about
blank
bedroom
windows
open.
that you can see all the houses down here. Her house happened to be one of them.
And was that from a static camera?
Static camera, yeah.
And is that still covering the top of the
No.
house? Okay, so that's been moved.
Yeah, but it was moved.
It
It moved because we moved the bird feeders that we were looking at.
It moves
Yeah.
around
Yeah.
based on where we think we can get good angles of
Yeah.
where the wildlife is coming from
Yeah.
a given day. We don't move it around because other reasons or other interference. But this is something we are doing for the enjoyment of
Yeah.
other people. And the fact that this incidental piece of someone else's anonymous property happens to be in the top right-hand corner of 5% of the frame is completely irrelevant.
Would you be willing to show us the footage
It's,
so we can see?
Yeah, sure.
you've got that, haven't you?
Um,
Have you got that one?
it's
It's on next door, so you can get it from there.
Yeah.
If you go to Hetty 2, it's on there, isn't it? Yeah.
Because I keep going to that. Come on.
I think it might be on WhatsApp as well, but I can't remember. It's definitely on there. We've got an amazing shot of a greater spotted woodpecker, which people have never seen in real life before. And I've had lots of lovely messages from people saying how amazing it is. And then there's a nonsense allegation about not requiring permission. And
Okay, so while your dad does that, you also mentioned that he did a bonfire.
yeah, so that is the first potential property damage.
What has he damaged?
Well, we can't actually see what's happened, but using inference and logic and the laws of physics, if you light a bonfire right next door to a wooden post on a windy day where the wind is going onto the post, it is likely some damage may or may not have been caused, but you do not light a fire 5 foot from someone else's property, next to their fence, next to their flammable temporary greenhouse, which
Okay.
he knows exists.
But has that bonfire caused damage?
We don't actually know, we cannot see, but it is the first instance of potential damage.
It's a bonfire right up against a wooden fence. We can't see. We can't.
Okay, whereabouts was it? Because we can check if there's
Right.
any damage.
Right, you come here.
And of course, it's now covered up by the second property damage, so you can't see.
Yeah. If you look out there, you see that piece of wood he's put up there. The one he's drilled into our
Yeah.
thing. There.
Okay, so the bonfire was there, was it?
Yeah. It's right against. We've got again.
5
We've got
foot from
moving
the
image
fence.
of
5 foot from the fence.
No,
No,
5
actually
foot
against the
from-
fence. It was against the
It
fence.
was
The
5
bonfire
foot-
was against the fence.
Yeah. I mean, it was right up against. He was standing by, feeding the
Well,
bonfire.
that bulb's only at the very top, so we can quite easily
no.
see where the bonfire was
Yeah,
if it's caused
yeah,
any
okay.
damage to the fence.
Well, for all we know, we put the board there to cover the damage. We just don't
Okay,
know
well,
why he
if
put the
there's
board
no
there.
damage at the bottom of the fence, the bonfire presumably starts on the ground, so we can see if there's
Yeah.
any damage at the bottom.
We
board
don't
starts very
know
high up.
whether the reason why that is there is to cover up damage he did do, or for the reasons he said, which is to stop a camera looking into his garden.
Okay.
We don't know why he's done it. Either way, he shouldn't have done that. But the point is that is roughly where the bonfire was. So it might be covering up the damage. I don't know.
Right.
Based on the evidence we have collected at that day, it is approximately just beyond where that post is. By about
Right, that
maybe
was the
maybe
picture we had of the woodpecker, and you can see in the background the number of houses here. It happens to have his top of his windows there.
Yeah.
The bird feeder's just here.
And depending on
And,
the
and your
wind.
other cameras, where are they pointing?
There's one here pointing straight down.
Well, go show them
Yeah,
the
okay.
yeah.
Come with me for a sec. These are the ones that when the police last were here, they checked to make sure it was fine. So that's the one in the garden looking back towards the house. You
Yeah.
see that this stuff's blacked out.
Yeah.
That's the one at the end of the garden looking out into the wood.
Yeah.
That's our front protecting my car.
Right.
That's looking through the door. And then that's another one looking out from the house down the garden. And again, you can see his garden bits blacked out.
Okay.
And last time the police came, they said, yeah, that's fine. So we haven't changed those.
It is.
So we've not changed those at all. Those have stayed exactly the same and have been the same for 2 or 3 months now.
Okay. That's fine. However, the front camera does show a bit of their driveway.
Show me.
So you've got their car and their van, yeah?
Yeah. So I mean, we blacked out this bit. You're saying we should black it out all the way down to the front
Yeah,
as well.
because that's their property, isn't it? Up to here.
If you, I mean, you're taking a bit of an extreme view, but if you think we should black it out, we will. But when they were last here, they said that was fine.
I don't make the rules. I'm just saying that their issue is that your cameras are recording them, and your camera is recording their property.
There's no time when they personally are sitting there at the far end of the code because their car's always in the way. But if you're saying that we should change it, but why didn't the police say last time we should change it?
They looked at this exact same view.
I can't account for what they say.
But we've tried to follow police guidance throughout.
Yeah. At the end of the day, these cameras are civil, okay?
Yeah.
It's nothing to do with us.
Yeah.
However, if they make a complaint to the Information Commissioner's office, they will say that you need to have your cameras on your property only.
Yeah, they are on a property only. They're physically located on a property.
No, you mean pointing
No,
at our
pointing at
That's
it.
not what you said.
Okay, but
They are physically on our property.
But
When I'm
that's
looking
this
at our
particular
property,
one.
there is about 5 pixels, 10 pixels.
No.
With
If
incidental
you're
footage.
saying we should black
With
that out, we
driveway.
will.
Yeah,
It's
I
just
mean,
we
I'm
only
not-
But
the
it's
only
not
reason
what
we
we're told to
didn't
do.
is we were told it was fine, legally speaking, before. If you're saying you think there might be a change and that might be incorrect, we'll change it.
Yes, but I would want that in writing because someone's wrong.
Look, I'm not going to
Somebody-
give you any writing. You have the power of Google.
Yeah.
You can Google the Information Commissioner's office.
I'm in contact
There
with
is
the Information
a lot-
Commissioner's office.
There's a lot of information on that website which dictates what you can and can't do.
And I've read it all. This used to be part of my job. I used to do this for a living. I know exactly what I'm entitled to do, when I'm entitled to do it, and what I have to disclose. We've made all the proper arrangements. The police have told us in no certain terms this is.
But that is the nature of the complaint by them against us.
There's numerous complaints.
But we
yeah.
need to know what they are because we don't know of anything we've done that should generate a police complaint.
You
We are
mentioned
not
contact
aware of
with
Well,
anything.
well, firstly, it's the numerous posts on Nextdoor which
No, there aren't any.
keep
What's
making
post on
against
next
There
door?
aren't any. That's the point. They
I'm
lie
following
in
you.
their teeth. There
You've,
aren't
you've
any.
asked me what they're alleging,
Okay, fine,
and I'm
right,
telling
okay,
you.
fine.
Okay, I
Okay.
don't have access to Nextdoor.
Okay, fine.
Right.
I can't
so-
see what is being put on there.
We've asked them in the past, before we had to block them, tell us what's on Nextdoor.
Mm.
And the only thing they could come up with was something from February, right at the beginning, before there was a proper dispute, before there was anything going on,
Before he was a neighbour.
where we made one complaint about him as a builder and the way in which he was going about his life.
Mm.
That's the only thing that's on Nextdoor that names them, until this latest thing where they complained about the windows,
And they named themselves.
and they named themselves. It was a
It was
personal.
completely anonymous up until the point
Yes.
they outed themselves. And that's
Right.
not
They
what
were
we
the ones
wanted.
that named themselves.
Well, I've been told that you've made numerous posts about them,
Yeah.
You can-
describing them, and just
So-
alleging lots of things.
Okay,
and telling
can
people
we
on
just stop
Nextdoor.
there? There are no such posts. It's a question. I mean, if you can ask them, say to produce them,
Okay,
we'd be delighted to know what they're looking at.
sure.
But they don't exist.
Okay, so you're saying no defamatory posts at all about your neighbours?
There are no defamatory posts at all mentioning them by name in any way.
I'm not talking about name, I'm talking about you describing them as saying they're your neighbours.
We've got
I
neighbours
cannot
all down the
believe
road.
that we've got neighbours everywhere. I describe my neighbours generically. Occasionally, yes. It doesn't necessarily mean I'm talking about them or anyone else. One of the rules on Nextdoor is you don't make specific complaints about people. And I'm moderator, well, I was a moderator on there until such time as they made this malicious
Should we go in the
complaint.
other room?
Yeah. They made that complaint before about us, and it shows that he went round to talk to them about it. And they weren't able to show him anything.
So, okay, so no.
They made that complaint before about us, and Visit Show said he went round to talk to them about it, and they weren't able to show him anything.
So, okay, so no posts naming them,
Correct.
no posts even describing them as your next door neighbour,
Not as next door neighbour, no.
but
The
posts
general
describing
about
them.
neighbours, generically there might be the word neighbour in there. but it's not next door neighbour, it's not them specifically, it's not number 56, any of that stuff.
Okay, I just want to see, I've checked the fence, the MDF's been taken off, I've checked behind it, you'll be pleased to know there's no damage from any fire.
So where that's...
Yeah, he's just taken the MDF off so I can have a look behind it.
Okay. Right.
Now, the MDF should not be on there, should not be attached to that post. That is our property. That is the main point about the most recent complaint of property damage. He has damaged our fence post, he's weakened its structure, he's created a situation where when the wind blows in the right way, it's probably going to pull part of our fence over. Because the wind blows down here this time of year, because from the wind coming from right to left.
Okay, well if we can sort out the issue of the camera that's...
Why are we talking about my cameras? It's irrelevant.
Well, it's not, because
it
the
is irrelevant.
MDF is put there to block the view of your cameras because it's
But
not
you've
appropriate
seen
for
the
a camera
picture.
to be recording their
You've seen
house.
the
Yeah, we've seen the photo.
The reason
now,
why those cameras exist is because he was shouting offensive slurs over the fence knowing there was no evidence. The police came and said there's no evidence of any crime. And at the time personally insulted me, belittled me and treated me with no dignity whatsoever. Following which I installed these cameras for my protection and my security against him and against other miscarriages of justice by you guys, whatever reason you're doing it, I don't know. But I had police officers in this house telling me I'm a liar to my father, talking about me while I wasn't here, as if I was not even standing here. The PC Pro said to my father, I quote, "Just because Michael tells you something, it doesn't mean it's true."
We were told to keep a
We were
record.
told to keep
There's no
records.
issue with you having a camera, you can have a camera, but it's the issue is if it's filming other people's property.
It's not filming other people's property.
Okay, well that's what we
fine.
need to establish.
Well, it's been established. We had officers come here because that same thing you just looked at, they came to the assessment between the two of them that there's no problem.
But
And you're making
the
a
issue
different
is
allegation.
whether the camera was covering their property at the time
It
the
was
MDF
not.
was put up.
It was not, it has
Okay,
not
well then that's
moved.
the evidence that we need to look into, investigate whether that camera has moved.
Why are you investigating something which is not relevant to the fact I'm being abused and terrorised by
Because
these people?
Michael, it's your report about criminal damage to your fence.
Yeah, which is the putting up the MDF.
Okay,
Which has
but
nothing to do with the
we
cameras.
also, part of the investigation needs to be looked at why the MDF was put there.
Because-
and if it is to cover up your camera from recording their property.
That doesn't make what he done right, proper or legal.
Okay, well, as I said, that's what we need to investigate, which is what we're doing.
You're not investigating it, you're accusing me of creating a problem
We're not
which he
accusing
then
you at
responded
all.
to,
We're
which is not
accusing
the
you of
case.
anything, Michael. We're
Why are
saying
you
we're investigating.
why are you investigating a
So
thing which is
can we
irrelevant?
just stop a moment? I don't want Michael more up, because the last time the police were here, we got into stage, I ended up having to call an ambulance because he has this
Right.
nervous
Well,
reaction.
all we're doing
Yeah,
is telling you
okay.
we're investigating.
All right. So
Yes, but
can we
in subtext of what you're saying
Yeah.
starts from the assumption that something I have done is wrong, and that is unacceptable.
Right.
I am the victim of a crime, and you're here in my house saying you have to investigate why my nuisance neighbour put up MDF because of something I have done. That is not acceptable.
We're not
Those
saying
cameras
it's
are
because
there
of
for my
something you've done,
protection
Michael.
and my safety because he was shouting horrible offensive slurs at me, and the policeman told me there was no evidence of this. Amongst other nasty things, which are those
That's
are actual
fine.
police
We've
complaints.
listened to that and we understand why you have the cameras.
So, given that the cameras are there, literally to protect me from Jack, there is no reason on God's green earth why you should be investigating where I have these cameras or where they're pointing and what they're pointing at.
Anyway,
All
so
cameras
can we
pick up
stop? We
incidents
want to
and
go back
images.
to the lead scene, which is we don't know what he did to our fence post in putting that stuff up. You've been down there, you've seen him taking it down. I don't know what damage is on our fence post. I don't know when he's taken it down, if there's any evidence of this fire having damaged it.
Okay, well I've checked it. There is no damage from a fire. There is no
No, sorry, have
fire
you
damage to the fence.
not behind the MDF?
No, he's just taken the MDF off, and I have my body worn camera on, so there's footage of behind the MDF. There is no fire
No, he was only
damage.
just taking it down, so I didn't see how you could have seen behind it. That was all.
He's just taken it down whilst I was standing there and put it back up.
Oh, he put
Whilst
it
I've
back
been
up again.
recording on my body worn
So
camera.
he's drilled stuff back into our fences.
So again, he's creating more damage.
The MDF's been put up where it was originally,
Yeah, into our fence,
Into our fence, creating more damage.
which we didn't give him
which
any
is what
permission
we're
to.
investigating.
Yeah, which we haven't given any permission to do.
But there's no fire damage, so we'll be
Well,
happy
that's
to know
good.
that.
I mean,
Well, that's great because he got lucky. Had my temporary greenhouse caught fire, the entire fence would have caught fire and both of our houses. It
Okay.
was the most
And
irresponsible
the-
thing
So
I've
we've
ever
spoken
seen.
about the bonfire. Should we speak about the loft extension? you're saying that he's been drilling on purpose and it's caused you
There's
irreparable hearing
no
damage?
loft extension has been started.
No, that's a different event.
It's a different
Okay.
event. He was part of the programme of harassment to produce things. Every now and again, if he thinks we've been too easily treated, he then produces something in order to get us wound up again. And one of them was, by going to next door and saying, does anyone know a good architect who tell us how to, who can advise us about a loft extension? And because of the incredible damage he did when they were doing the conversion works next door, he would know that immediately how that would upset us, and it did.
So he's harassing you by asking on next door if anyone knows a good architect.
Yeah, having said before,
So it impacted into our fence.
he knows the damage he did while he was doing the loft extension. They knocked a hole in this chimney. This room was full of bricks and soot dust and stuff.
It took us
And
3
they
weeks to
took
clean up.
no interest at all about it. And then at one of the conversations around about that time, he said, "You think you've suffered? Just wait till I do my ground floor kitchen extension and the loft extension, then you'll know what suffering's like," or words to that effect. So he'd set it up to know that any time now he mentioned getting on with one of those 2 bits of work, that it would be have an incredible impact on us.
Mm.
So we regard it as part of the campaign. By itself, obviously, it does nothing. But as part of the campaign, it's hugely effective.
Okay, well, again, we're not talking about.
I
the
know you
campaign,
aren't, but you asked why we regarded it as.
So the drilling that you've reported recently, what was that? What were the details?
We
of
don't know
that?
what he was drilling.
Well,
But it sounded like it was in the party wall. There was no prior notice. There's something that was drilling in the party wall. Again,
So,
the state
would you like
anxiety
prior
he's reduced
notice?
us to, it means to immediately fear the worst.
Would you like prior notice when he's going to be doing works in the house?
this has now gone way too far for any sort of reasonable. What do I call it?
The method of communication between us is now
Okay, but
really
the fact is that
difficult.
he's going to be doing works in his house. He has a right to do works in his
Exactly.
house like
He does
everybody
not
does.
have the right to destroy other people's property in.
If he's doing work in his
If
house,
he's doing work on the party wall, which is anything more than superficial, he's meant to get a party wall award or a SCAR consent.
not by putting up a mirror in his house.
No,
he's
no,
not.
of course. I'm saying anything more than superficial.
Okay, but if it's superficial and he's drilling next door, would you
Yeah.
like him to
But
prior
the
warn
question
you?
is putting up a mirror. The idea of you drilling to put up a mirror just is and the kind of, you heard that particular drill. That's not an ordinary domestic drill. That's a big, powerful thing, and he uses that all the time.
It's a
whenever he
hammer
does
drill,
anything.
which you have to use to put things into a wall.
That is not a hammer drill. That is an STS drill. There's a big difference between the two.
So, would you like prior warning if he's going to be doing drilling?
Listen. The way you are framing this, it's making it sound like if we just all get together and talk about it, it'll all be fine. It has gone too far for
It's
this.
not, Michael. It's moving forward.
It is
And
not moving forward.
He's going to be doing works in his house.
No,
and
he
has
will
a
not.
right to do so.
He will not be doing work in the way he did before. He's permanently damaged my hearing due to some work he did before. Part of the work he did probably contributed greatly to my mother's early demise. He will not be doing work like that again. He has no right to do work like that in the way in which he did it, and no one did anything about it. And while I started going mad, I had to get medically evacuated from my property because of the way in which he went about doing his work in an irresponsible, dangerous way without regard for anybody else's welfare or safety. I am blind. I am now partially deaf. That is not acceptable.
Okay. We've
It's
got,
gone too far for let's all kiss and make up or whatever else. No
That's not
mediation
what
is
we're
going to
saying,
fix
Michael. We're
this.
asking you if you'd like prior
It
warning
will not
before he
help.
drills.
It will not help.
Okay.
Because all he'll do is say, I'm going to do some drilling in 2 minutes, and then he'll start drilling for an hour. He works on Saturdays and Sundays doing horrible things and then claims it's a gas leak. So there's no reason to expect that this commitment will actually help. He'll just abuse the rules like he has done numerous documented times before. These are not allegations, these are documented instances which can be proved to actually have happened, and the consequences of those cannot be denied.
okay. We've
Right.
got all the comments that
Yeah.
we need. We'll update the reports and we'll pass it over to PC Young. And when he's back, he will be in touch.
But I do stress, if anything has been closed, we need to know about it, know the explanation for it, and the ability to appeal against that decision.
Yeah, I
Because-
understand that, and
because
that's what
it's-
Robin will be able to do. He'll
Okay.
be able to look over everything that's
And
happened, any reasons for.
When will he be back?
So he's due back next week. So you should be hearing something towards the end of next week.
Yeah.
But I would suggest when he makes contact that you ask him to look at the reports that were closed.
Yeah.
I did look at one, and it did say that a victim's right to review was either emailed or mailed to you, which had instructions of
And it was denied because there wasn't a crime number.
how.
Yeah,
it
we
was
weren't,
reviewed.
because they weren't given a proper reference.
Right.
It says, therefore you're not a victim, therefore we can't, the system doesn't work.
Okay.
It
So
literally said
if
not
you
qualified.
if you explain that to Robin, he can give
Yeah.
you the crime numbers, and you can go through
Yeah.
that with you again.
Do we have a copy of your documentation of the incidents that have happened?
Which one? The
What you're
bit
reading.
about the
Your log.
Yeah, you've got the log up till about 6 weeks ago. I think this is probably the
So
update from that.
was that in hard format, or was
That was electronic format.
email to PC? Okay, so I will get that off of
Yeah.
him.
Or are you able to send that to Cannon Hill's website, email
Yeah.
address rather, so that
Yeah.
Robin has that when he comes back?
Yeah, this
Yeah.
one. Yeah.
Do you
Okay.
have the email?
Which
Cannon Hill's.
Cannon Hill.
Cannonhill@met.police.uk.
.police.uk. That'd be helpful if you could send your documents to that.
All of documents lost count of like 2 gigabytes worth of stuff. I've got a
So
copy of all of the stuff.
the update stuff to
Cannon
Cannon Hill.
Hill at met
Dot-
dot police
Police.uk.
Okay, so just do it to that. And
Yeah,
so
and then-
and your two names are
PC Jeffries,
J-E?
JEFFERIES.
I-E... J-E-F-F-E-R-I-E...
S.
F for Freddy.
S.
S
For sugar,
Jeffries.
yeah.
Sorry, yeah, and
PC Grounds, GROWNS.
yeah, thank you.
So we need to ask Robin moving forward then to have a look at the closed reports
Yeah.
and give you the proper rationale as to what's happened with them.
Yeah.
Look into the open reports and what investigation needs to happen around them.
Yeah.
And to have a good look at your log of
Yeah.
events.
And more specifically, if he's made allegations about these numerous reports against us, we need to know that someone has asked him to produce evidence
Well,
of these reports.
we have asked him, to basically
Yeah.
produce that.
Yeah.
I believe he's taken some screenshots of next door.
Yeah.
And we've also asked him
That should be very
if
interesting.
he has a log, or
Himself.
creates a log.
Yeah.
That's what we need to do. Get all the information together for Robin to have a good
Yeah.
look through.
Okay.
Now, let's just say for the sake of argument that he finds this screenshot from February, which is probably the best one he can find. That is one thing I did, which I acknowledge. Balancing out that one thing, I have a file of about 25 horrible, horrible things he's said publicly about me to all of my neighbours by name. So even if there happens to be 1 or 2 mentions of a neighbour that might qualify, which it doesn't by the way, but even if it did, for the sake of argument, if he can find anything, it is far, 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 far less of an issue than what he has said about me by name several times.
Well, Robin will have your log, and he will have his log, and
Yeah.
then we'll make a decision as to how to best
Okay.
proceed with that.
Right, I think that's enough then.
Well,
Yeah.
I want to know what action will be taken about the criminal damage, which you don't seem to think exists, which
Well,
it does.
it will be passed over to Robin, and he can again make a
So-
decision.
nothing will
you've
happen now.
allowed him to drill the stuff back into our fence.
Into holes that already exist in.
When you drill holes,
Yes, well, the holes that he made.
he made holes and then he real-drilled into those
So-
holes. That's not how. When you
you-
drill into
yeah.
wood, you weaken the wood. When you take the nail out, you weaken the wood further. That's how screw threads
As
work.
we said to you, Robin will look into it and investigate if
Yeah, I'm just
crime
making a
has taken
statement
place.
right
Can
now
I-
in front
when-
of you that at your instruction, more damage has been done to our fence.
Well, we haven't instructed him to
You
do
have. You asked him to take it off, and he did. In taking it off, more damage has been done to our fence.
I've
Thanks
asked
very
him
much.
if there was damage, if there's fire damage to the fence behind the MDF.
Yeah.
He's taken it off to prove that there is no fire damage. to
But the
fence.
damage, as we were saying, there are 2 sets of damage potentially. One potential, one actual. And the actual one you have actually helped him make worse.
We haven't
So
helped
anyway,
him to do
just to put that in other words, we don't want his thing drilled into our
Okay.
house.
And that's
He
the
has
report
no
that you've
permission
made.
to do what he's now done.
Okay.
Have
and
you
that's
got the deeds that say that that's your fence?
We I think the deeds show these as our fences, but it's a fence we put up, we paid for, and that fence is the one my neighbour put up and she paid for, and the one beyond it is a fence that their neighbours put up and they paid for. Every house on this road is exactly the same.
Right.
All the fences are left-hand fences you look outwards belong to you. And if you look at the way it's built, you'll see that all the bits are on this side and on that side, and the line of the fence is the exact party line, i.e. that side is the exact party line, not this side. This side, the fences are on our ground, not his ground.
Okay, so like I said, we have the information and we can pass it all to Robin and he'll be investigating.
We have a written confession from him in text saying he did it on purpose. So you can't say, but it was an accident, it was a premeditated
I don't think there's any doubt that he did it.
I don't think that's in question. The question is whether he's allowed to do that or not,
Well, the answer
and
is he's not.
whether that is his fence.
It is not his fence.
It's probably best that if you can get those deeds and you can prove
The
that
deeds
is your...
won't show it because the land registry is I'll try and see if they've marked it up.
Yeah.
But
Twice bad at that.
but it'll be part of his property details because he bought it only just now. We bought ours 40 years ago, so we won't still have the original inquiries. But he will have the original inquiries, and one of the things will say which fence is yours, so he knows.
If it can be proven that is your fence, then I'm sure he will reasonably either repair that or get that replaced. But that's something that would have to be spoken with by Robin, and once we can understand whose fence
So
it is.
that's an open thing, damage to our fence without our permission, and if Robin has to make further inquiries just to establish for his own benefit that it is our fence, then fine, we'll deal with
We
it.
have to establish ownership in order for an offence to have been committed.
But purely because I was a lawyer, a solicitor for 40 years, and I did conveyancing all that time. Every single element of the way we're taught says even by looking at it, you know it's our fence, because of the way it's built. We actually paid for it to be put up, which is different, and I can produce the invoices probably.
Well, as I'm sure you'll appreciate, when it comes to civil matters like these, we're not.
Yeah, but
We're not savvy to
it
these
is our
things, so-
property, and we're claiming it's our property. He's damaged it, so the damage is therefore because he knows it's our fence. I know. I mean, there's no question. And he can say what he likes, but he knows it's our fence. He put it up. He didn't think twice about whether it's ours or not. He just did it.
Yeah.
And to my mind, that is criminal damage because of the existing relationship where he knew there was no possibility of implied consent, which there might be had we been friendly neighbours.
Yeah.
There's no possibility of that existing. He did it deliberately. He knew what he was doing. As far as we're concerned, that's a criminal act.
And it's not like
I don't think we're going to be able to solve that particular issue. So
You can't solve it today.
we can't solve it today. So I think if you try and get those deeds, and we can understand a bit better, can't we?
But I need to be. Can I just ask you, Mr. Jeffries? While your body cam is on and working, the body cam's got a picture of the fence without that up.
Yeah.
So is it possible to have a picture of that? So it's showing our fence without that on.
As it's an active investigation, we can't give you anything that we own at the
Can we
moment.
at least have something in writing to confirm you have got that picture and it doesn't show any fire damage?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
Robin will be investigating. He will look at my body worn footage and
Okay.
he can provide you with information that you need.
Right.
Okay.
The only reason I'm slightly puzzled is that you came straight back round and he was out there doing something and it was up and then it went down and it went back up again. I mean, no, forget it. He'll investigate. We'll find out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, while your cameras are working, I want to state for the record, every single time we've had a police officer come round or any sort of investigation officially, there has always been some retribution. Every single time there's been retribution. You guys go around there today will cause some retribution in the future. Normally about in 2 weeks' time. Do something.
So it's a matter of record. We can predict that, and when it happens, we'll add it.
Yeah, just make a
add
log
to
of
your
it.
log.
Okay.
All right.